I've actually, funny enough, that we're talking because the last few months, before I even knew about the new album, I've been on a real big sort of Satriani kick, and I've been going through the entire back catalogue, just because
Wow.
I've been in a certain mood, I guess, for your type of music, and it is really amazing to see the evolution of your sound from the first album way back in the '80s to what you're doing now. I mean, so many different styles. I mean, you must have done so much experimentation, and I guess this new album is no different as well. You sort of continuing on that evolution that you guys have been on for a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. You want to always be evolving and trying new things and figuring out new ways to express yourself. And of course, you hope that you get better, at your
Yeah.
craft. And so, yeah, I mean, it was, wow, what a great opportunity to do another record so big, over an hour of music, 14 songs, and to work with this great team was really fantastic.
I checked out the album on release day yesterday here in Australia, obviously, and it's again different, and there's a lot of different experimentation you've done on this one, a lot of different sounds and textures and stuff. Was there
Yeah.
anything in particular that you were maybe trying to go for on this album at all?
Well, I wanted to make sure that I wrote the best songs that I could, and come up with arrangements that were super creative. And I wanted to play better, just like, take care of some nagging little issues that I've been trying to overcome. And like any other guitar player, I wanted some more interesting sounds. Sometimes it meant just bringing my personality really closer to the fans, rather than trying to sound like every other guitar player, or joining a style at like you're jumping on a trend or something. It was really about, how do I get me to come out more, and what it is I'm trying to say song per song. And that meant that I had to really concentrate on the meaning behind every song. And I got to say that, usually when you start a record, you may think you have a handle on it, but you don't really. You wait until it's finished and you go, oh my God, what have I done? And so, but the fact that the collection holds together is really a testament to, everybody's hard work. Everybody understood what it was I was asking them to do, which was to give their best performances, not to worry about time issues, because we were recording remotely, so we had all the time in the world. And so to just be as creative as possible, and not to try to blend in with the crowd.
Yeah, definitely. And the creating in remote as well. Is that something that you guys have done before, or was it because of the pandemic that you kind of were forced to do that way?
Well, kind of both in a way. I think Kenny had the hardest part, because drums are never really done remotely. They're always done in a place where you can set them up,
Yeah.
For Brian, myself, and Ray, it was a lot easier, because we can do it even without speakers. We can use headphones. We can do it in hotel rooms, closets. We can go to a big studio if we want. It doesn't really matter. But I think that the idea, for me personally, of recording with nobody else in the room was a really big plus, because I'm a natural performer and I'm naturally shy. So that means if there's two people in the room watching me do a solo, I'll probably try to impress them. Can't help it, right?
Yeah.
And if I see them smile, whatever it is I did, I'll just do it again. So this time the only person in the room was me, so I really had to prove to myself that each track had something about it that was really worthy to be on the album. And I got closer than ever before to what I really wanted on the album. Because in the past, very often you're with a band, let's say you're working with Chickenfoot, and the track goes down, you're recording live, and everyone says, no, that's it. And you realize you can't do it again, even though you go, hey, but I screwed up that second bridge. They're like, no one will hear it, And that's kind of like the thing that happens in a band. You have to make compromises along the way, or budget, right? You run out of money, you run out of time. The studio's booked. You got to pack up your stuff and go. So none of that was a negative reality for us. The remote recording idea gave everyone all the time in the world, which really helped the record sound really good.
Now, like I mentioned before about going through your entire back catalog, and I did notice, and I don't know why I didn't never picked up on it before, is that there's a recurring theme, and that there's a bit of a space and universe and planets and things like that sort of ongoing throughout your career. And obviously, this new album, The Elephants of Mars, is no different. I am curious though where the title comes from.
I had this song, right? And the song had this curious noise in it that I had created. And it instantly made me think of some kind of elephant-like creature, but not the ones we're used to on Earth. And I thought, yeah, alien, elephant, you know, some other planet, maybe it's got musical powers. And I thought, I really want to do this song, but I need more to get me going. So I thought of this story where in the future, the Earth scientists terraform the planet Mars. They create a beautiful garden planet. By accident, they create this species of sentient elephants that are gigantic and have telepathic powers, and they can play great music with their trunks. And they get together with the Earth colonists on Mars, and they decide to revolt and make Mars an independent planet to save it from the evil corporations of Earth that are taking all the raw materials from the planet. So once I had that story in my head, I was like laughing to myself, like, you know, that's funny. And I thought that's great because this song needs funny somehow. It needs a sense of humor. And so it informed my part, you know, to play that symmetrical scale, kind of crazy solo with the Qtron stereo guitar sound. But then as the track got sent along to everybody else, you know, to Ray in Australia and Brian and Eric and Kenny in LA, they heard the story from me, had a good laugh, but also realized, oh, this gives me license to go crazy and just be a little bit more outrageous because of what the song is about, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that you've always done as well. You've always had these interesting and almost humorous sort of takes on sort of, I guess, everyday life, I guess, and the universe around us. And obviously this is no different. And I am wondering where that sort of creative spark comes from, because, I mean, as I said, you've been doing it for a long time. And it's still interesting to see how you still managed to do unique creative ideas. I mean, where are you drawing inspiration from every day?
Oh, everyday life. I mean, life is crazy and it's hard and it's beautiful and magnificent. And there's no shortage of source material, you know, to write about, you know. I think the difficult part comes to when you got to sort of slow down and center yourself and just think about that one thing. And it might be physical, you know, like Bluefoot Groovy. It's just about feeling good and trying to sell yourself to a potential partner, you know.
Yeah.
Simple idea. You know, Faceless, very, you know, sad song about not being seen for your true self, you know, needs a whole different, you know, bag of tricks, you know, to sell that idea to an audience. And you need to separate your tools, you know, because you wouldn't want to play the same way on those two songs, right? So your whole being has to suddenly shift gears, and then you have to learn to eliminate lots of things that you're able to play and just use the tools for the meaning of the song only. And don't self-promote yourself. Don't use every song to show how fast and crazy you are. Yeah. You know, if you're 18, yeah, good idea. You know, you're starting out and you really need to let people know what you do. But when you've been around as long as I have, you don't need to do that anymore. People know who you are. They can find out in a second. So what you really need to do is to, you know, develop a way of delivering the utmost quality material from yourself to your fans, you know, and so that kind of discipline of learning how to push aside some musical techniques and talents and chords and notes and rhythms, and just use the ones that support this idea that you're working on, this one idea. And it might be fantastical, you know, like a Dance of the Spores, or it might be a singular, you know, really dark feeling like something like Desolation, but there's a difference and you need to recognize it.
Yeah. I want to ask you about a particular song on the new album as well, called East 104th Street in New York City, 1973. I love New York. I've been there a few times myself. I didn't particularly go to that address, and I'm curious as to what that title comes from.
Yeah, if you went there between First and Second Avenue, you'd say it just looks like a bunch of people living here. but that's where my father was born and raised. He was born in 1917. His parents from Italy would have gotten there about 1906 or so.
Okay.
It was a very different city back then. And so as a little kid, I was there, every Sunday visiting my grandparents and my cousins. And New York City was a wonderland for a little kid. It was just so much fun and playing with my cousins and everything. But come 1970, I'm a teenager. I start playing guitar. I start to realize the real world around me, and that New York City is a dangerous, crazy place. It's having economic problems and crime problems. But I'm also a young musician, and it is one of the most fantastic times in terms of music and art and culture. It's just exploding, even though, there's inflation and there's an oil embargo and crime and drugs and everything. So I kind of picked that date because by the end of the 70s, I had moved out here to California. And so I picked 73 as that middle point where I was in between being a grown up and a little kid, kind of looking at my past and the future in a way. And, back then clubs would close. If you had a gig at a club, you'd do 6 sets and you'd finish at 4 a.m. So maybe at 4:15, you're on stage, you're having a drink, you're exhausted, and you're kind of playing one last song with your friends. And that's the sound that came to me, was that performance. I just performed that once. That's it. That's just a live take. And the whole sound, the whole vibe just embodied that moment in the early 70s for me.
Yeah, cool. Well, next time I go to New York, I'll have to visit that area then and have a look. So, so what now for yourself for 2022? I guess things are starting to get back to some kind of normalcy. I guess you'll be hitting the road and doing some shows, or
yeah. We're looking at the end of September of this year, going out and doing our North American tour. We're very excited about that. We've got Ray Thistlethwaite coming out on keyboards and guitar, Brian Beller on bass, Kenny Aronoff on drums. Just a huge set list because it's going to be an evening with concert. So that means 2 full sets from us with an intermission. And we get to play a lot of songs, which is great. Always a lot of fun. I think we're going to do some kind of meet and greet that's safe for everybody as well. And then finally get back to Europe to do the 2020 tour that we postponed 3 times. That's insane. But all the tickets will be honored, and all the venues are pretty much the same and the dates are the same. So we're very happy about that. And hope maybe in 23 we'll get down to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I caught you last time you came down here, and I've seen you numerous times over the years, and it's always a fun show. But I do, like I said, listening to the entire back catalog these last few months, I'm like, how do you pick out a set list? Because there are so many songs to pick from, and I guess you got to go with what the fans want to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, what we always do is we ask the fans to fill out some set list ideas for us at Satriani.com. That's really a lot of fun to read those lists that they come up with. Some of them are spot on, and they mirror what we're feeling. And then some of them are so outrageous that it makes us stop and think like, hey, that's a crazy idea. It might work,
Yeah.
But we obviously want to bring the Elephants of Mars and Shapeshifting to the stage finally.
Sure.
And we'll play, the hits if I've got any, and maybe pull out a few, crazy songs we've never attempted before in a live show. And we'll keep it loose and, make sure that we can respond to how people are feeling.
Awesome. I've got one last question to ask you before I let you go. And I know you've got another interview to do, but I bought the vinyl version of Surfing with Nadian a few years ago. It was the re-release, special unique version of it. And I noticed that the cover didn't have the Silver Surfer. And I heard some rumors about some legal stuff going on. Do you know what the story is behind that cover of the vinyl version?
Absolutely. Yeah. We originally licensed the image of the Silver Surfer from Marvel Comics for $5,000 for a 20-year license. And it was a typical license for a comic book character that was almost killed off. I mean, it had no business left in it.
Yeah.
But as Marvel's fortunes grew, they became more demanding every time we had to re-up our license. And they finally made an offer that was so outrageous that we couldn't accept it. It was just punitive, you know, but I think they really just wanted us to leave town. You know what I mean? They'd had enough of being associated with this instrumental guitarist. And so we just said, well, forget it. You know, go ahead, keep your Silver Surfer. We don't really need it. It's been like 30 years, you know? So, but what we did find out was what they didn't trademark or copyright. So we basically didn't want to really upset the fans. So we came as close as we could without, you know, getting into any legal trouble copying the Silver Surfer. So we did change the cover, but celebrated the original artist's work at the same time. We wanted to pay homage to the original artist that created that. So they're fine with it, as far as I know.
Yeah, it was a little deceiving when I bought it. I went, oh yeah, I didn't recognize the album cover. And then I looked into the details and went, wait a minute, something's missing here. So, yeah. But I love the whole idea, the package and the different versions of the songs as well. Or the, you know, there's a sort of somewhat more instrumental with the backing tracks and stuff. So it was a cool idea.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, just a side note is that when you do backing tracks, it's not like you just turn something off, because you realize the mix doesn't work, you know, as a fun thing to listen to if you just remove the middle thing. You really do have to go through and rebalance it. So my original co-producer and engineer, John Kunibert, he did a fantastic job of sort of going with the original mix, but then just compensating for the fact that there was this one really loud thing missing in the middle. Yeah, I'm happy we were able to provide that to the fans.
Awesome. Well, look, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. And well done on the new album. As always, it's fantastic. And hopefully we'll see you in Australia in the near future.
Yes, I really hope so. All right. Have a good day.
Awesome, man. You too, man. Take care.